I sat in the cramped economy class of the spacious airplane, a vivid contrast to my surroundings. The hum of the engines blended with the chatter of passengers, but my heart raced at the sight of the first-class section, where glimmers of luxury bathed an alluring few in golden light. Among them was Arnold Schwarzenegger, larger than life, casually chatting with fellow high-profile figures. His very presence radiated a combination of charisma and confidence that made me feel both in awe and out of place. As I sat hunched in my chair, the familiar pang of envy tugged at me. I thought of my own journey, one that started with pride as a soldier, now genuflecting under the weight of self-doubt. The applause of the crowd and the safety of camaraderie felt distant, replaced by an unsettling silence that clung to me since returning home. I was a veteran now, grappling with shadows of my past and the bright lights of the present. Yet I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was undeserving of the kindness I craved. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Arnold stood up, scanning the cabin, and his gaze locked onto me. Just then, with a conviction that surprised even the attendants, he declared, "I'd like to give my first-class seat to that veteran over there." An electric current of murmurs rippled through the cabin, and I felt my heart thump loudly in my chest. Would their whispers lift me up or tear me apart? The luxurious airplane, a world away from the humdrum of everyday life, glistened under the soft, ambient lighting that wrapped around its plush seats. Each cabin section felt like its own universe. In first class, laughter and clinking glasses harmonized with gentle whispers of the elite, while the economy's hum was punctuated by the rustle of magazines and the occasional cry of a child. Outside, an endless ocean of clouds blanketed the sky, serene yet superficially distant, much like the emotions brewing within me. I sat between two rows of cheerful, oblivious travelers, all unaware of the heaviness in my heart, a heart that still bore the scars of service. Just as I leaned back, attempting to find solace in the rhythm of the engine, Arnold Schwarzenegger captured everyone's attention with a casual beckon of his hand. The cabin grew quiet, eyes turned toward him as he stood up like a titan of old. "Excuse me," he called, the weight of his voice commanding respect. "I'd like to give my first-class seat to that veteran over there." A wave of gas rippled through the cabin. Whispers erupted like fireworks, ranging from admiration to skepticism, glancing towards me with deep curiosity, some even brandishing their phones to capture the moment. My cheeks flushed and discomfort twisted in my stomach. Why me? What did I deserve of such kindness? Their rapidly shifting attitudes, ranging from fascination to judgment, ignited a tension as palpable as the altitude we flew, leaving me in a whirl of gratitude and mounting conflict, uncertain of how to respond. As I settled into first class, the murmurs among the passengers escalated, a low rumble of judgment weaving through the plush seats. Their laughter and whispers felt cold against my skin, cutting deeper than the usual anxieties swirling in my mind. I could sense the adrenaline surging through my veins, an instinctual fight-or-flight reaction bubbling to the surface. Some sneered, their eyes narrowed in distaste, muttering about how someone like me didn't deserve Arnold's gesture. I could hear snippets of conversations. Does he even know what he's talking about? And is he just looking for attention? Their contempt felt like a vice tightening around my chest. "Don't let them get to you, man," Arnold said, sensing my struggle, his voice grounded yet firm. "You've given more than they'll ever understand." He stood tall, his imposing figure radiating an undeniable strength. But inside I felt small, dwarfed by both his stature and the surrounding judgment. It was hard to reconcile my own self-worth when those around me seemed intent on diminishing it. I wanted to hide in the fabric of the seat, wishing I could vanish into the atmosphere of privilege surrounding me. And just like that, a sleek phone was raised, capturing the moment, broadcasting my shame to the world. My heart pounded, embarrassment racing in tandem with anger, battling for dominance within me. Each flash felt like a hot poker, sizzling against the very essence of my being. "Why do you care what they think?" Arnold pressed, his gaze steady. "You're more than a headline or a video clip." I could feel the burning desire to defend my broken sense of honor surfacing, But how? What could a retiree from a fading war have to say that would change their minds? As more passengers chimed in, the weight of their misconceptions pressed down, making it harder to breathe. There was a storm brewing inside me, a mixture of inadequate shame and fiery resolve. I was no longer just an observer of this narrative. I had become part of it. As the minutes passed, the atmosphere aboard the flight became increasingly charged. My heart raced as I found myself unable to focus. Faces turned towards me like moths to a flame, their curiosity laced with skepticism. One passenger, a sharply dressed woman with perfectly coiffed hair, leaned over to her companion and whispered loudly enough for me to hear, "What did he even do to deserve that? Just because he wore a uniform doesn't make him a hero." The weight of her words felt like a weightlifting competition I didn't sign up for. My hands trembled slightly, a mix of anger and humiliation boiling beneath the surface. The laughter and judgments felt like arrows aimed directly at me, and I could hear a slight snicker from behind. I squeezed my eyes shut momentarily, desperately trying to push the doubts aside. "Hey, it's not about them. It's about what you did for us." Arnold's deep voice reached me from across the aisle, firm and reassuring. He was trying to deflect their scrutiny, I realized, but his voice only added to my unease, reminding me just how different our worlds were. Then, without warning, a brave young man in a hoodie stood up. "Hold on a second. You don't know anything about him," he shouted, his voice defiant, drawing more attention. "Yeah," another voice chimed in. "You all assume just because he's been through something, he doesn't deserve respect?" The tension mounted. The cabin was a battlefield filled with whispers, judgment, and burgeoning solidarity. Arnold's brows furrowed, his jaw set as he raised his voice. "This man has served our country. His sacrifice is more significant than any of our luxuries." The cabin paused, hanging on his words. In that moment, the world fell silent, and my heart thundered in my chest as I considered the power of their words versus the weight of my own silence. Could I let their judgments define me, or was it time to step into the light and reclaim my place? Would I confront the circling storm, or retreat into the shadows of doubt? I rise slowly, every heartbeat pounding in my ears, drowning out the persistent chatter that had invaded my mind. The moment feels surreal. The lavish first-class cabin extends before me like a battleground. Arnold stands beside me, larger than life, yet his presence is a comforting anchor. "You've got this, Steve," he whispers, his eyes reflecting compassion rather than celebrity. My heart races, the buzzing whispers resonating through the cabin, each word a clang against my already battered self-worth. "I may not carry the weight of celebrity," I say, my voice trembling but loud enough to command attention. The murmurs die away as I gather my thoughts. But my service was real and meaningful. I've fought for something much bigger than myself, and no one has the right to question that. The plane holds its breath, a collective pause forming a soft cocoon of silence. Faces in the cabin turn, some sympathetic, others skeptical. I swallow hard, and I feel a burgeoning strength pushing against the shame that had gripped me in its icy fingers. "The sacrifices veterans make aren't up for debate," I continue, frustration igniting my words. "Just because I may not fit your image of worthiness, it doesn't strip away the blood, sweat, and tears that brought me here." The tension shifts. People are processing, reconsidering their preconceived notions. Arnold's supportive nod amplifies my resolve. I'm not just a man feeling the weight of others' judgments. I'm a collective voice for the forgotten sacrifices. As I finish, something profound hangs in the air. The judgment transforms into reflection, and alongside Arnold, I stand unyielding, reclaiming my dignity in a world that had almost stripped it away. A turning point emerges, reshaping our shared reality. As the plane touched down, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. The whispers of skepticism had faded, replaced by apologies and newfound respect. Fellow passengers, once critical, now approached me with warmth. "I'm sorry," one woman said, her eyes glistening. "I judged you too quickly." A nod from Arnold encouraged me, reinforcing my triumph over vulnerability. The flight ended with laughs, smiles, and a bond shared over a moment of honesty. "You stood tall, Steve," Arnold said, his tone both encouraging and sincere. I felt lighter, as if the burdens of judgment had evaporated. I'd learned that worth isn't dictated by accolades or social media reactions, but by our actions and integrity. Walking through the terminal, I had shed the heavy cloak of insecurity. My heart soared. I had not only reclaimed my dignity, but discovered the powerful lesson of empathy. Together, we can rise above judgment and embrace our shared humanity, standing strong in our vulnerabilities.